Presenting a project with accuracy and highest detail is a goal that all of us pursue. By the end of this video, you will learn a technique for designing, modeling, and presenting perfect, unique, and seamless floor finishes. Let's see how we can do this. As you can see in here, we have 4 different types of floors, so we can test multiple materials on them. We're going to start from simple, and the last one is going to be advanced and has highest details. Starting with the first one, this floor is a structural floor, and on top of it we will have different layers depending on the finish, depending on the last material. So let's say if we have a wooden parquets, we might have different layers of mortar, insulation, damp proof layers, and things like this. If we have, let's say, a concrete or a tile, we might have different layers. All of these different layers will change the overall thickness of the architectural floor. I don't want to go in depth for all of these parts, so I'm going to just select the very simple layer of the floor so we can focus more on the presenting and the design of the last layer. In here, we are going to work on a wooden floor, parquets, or wooden tiles. So first of all, I'm going to click on the floor, architectural floor, and in here I will select this one, for example, and then I'm going to duplicate it. Let's call it wood. Go to edit, and in here I'm going to change the thickness to, it should be like something between 1 centimeter to 3 centimeter maybe. Let's go with 2 centimeter. For the material, I have created the material before. It is something like this. I've changed the size, the scale of it, and that's it. I didn't change anything. And now I'm going to assign it for this part, add another layer under this part, maybe in core boundary, and I will give it a 1 centimeter thickness. And for the material, let's go with a simple cement maybe, and then I'm going to move this wood layer up outside the core boundary. And okay, now let's go to first level and draw it exactly on top of this floor. We have this warning in here, and this is because we have overlaps. So the overall thickness of the architectural floor was 3 centimeter, as you can see in here. And now I'm going to add that number to this part so it goes above the structural floor like this. Now I'm going to change the visual style to realistic so we can see the texture. It's like this. So there are 2 ways to fix this problem. First, we need to go to materials, and then in the texture of this material, we can move it around with these offsets. We should move its position so we have it exactly on top of this floor, or we can do it manually. So let's go to first level, and in here we need to first make this floor a little bit bigger so we can see it like this. And now we can see exactly the texture, where the texture is. So you need to know the size of the texture and also the size of your floor. In here it's 10 by 10. I'm going to go to annotate, and in here I will use these detail lines. I will select this rectangle. I'm going to create a rectangle exactly on top of this texture like this. Let's check the sizes. It's 10, okay, and also 10 for this part. Let's move it up a little bit, okay. And now we need to go to this edit sketch again, move these lines and align them with the detail line. And now you can hit finish, and the texture is perfectly like this. Select it all and then filter the lines and delete all of them, and then move it exactly on top of the structural floor. Perfect. Now how we can add tile trims to this floor? You might see those steel frames on top of the floors, between the tiles, maybe between the parquets, or for framing some unique materials on the floor. we're going to create something like that. So for this, we need to go to File and create a new family in generic model floor based. Tile frames have lots of different shapes. They have unique forms, unique profiles, but we're going to create it very simple. So first I'm going to create two reference planes, one in here and another one in this part, and then I'm going to set them exactly in the center. Make them equal and create another one for the, select this one and let's call it length. I'm going to make it instance since we might need to change this a lot of times, so we have access to it easily. Okay, and now let's go to front view. In here, this is our floor. So since we want that trim, the tile trim, we want it inside this floor, I'm going to create another reference plane in here, and then I will create a dimension like this, select it, and let's call it depth. So we might need two more reference planes in this part, one in here and another one for this part. And then I'm going to put them exactly in the center, make them equal, and then another one for the parameter. Let's make it a little smaller. Select this one and let's call it the width, and okay. Now let's go to ref level, and for the profile we are going to use a strip. So I'm going to create this sketch path exactly from this part to here, and then we are going to lock it with all of these lines. Hit finish and let's go to edit profile in the front view. In here I'm going to create it exactly from this part to here, and then I will lock it with all of these lines. As you can see, it is inside the floor, so it is exactly like how we create these type of floors in the real world. So we have 100% accurate model. Hit finish, and now if we go to the 3D view, we will have a very simple rectangle like this. It is inside the floor, so we can see it is overlapping. To fix this, you can select this sweep and then copy it exactly on the same place, and then from this part you should turn it into a void, and then as you can see these orange lines around it, we need to cut it from the floor. So click on this cut, select the floor, and then click on this void, and now we have a perfect tile trim like this. Now one more tip before loading it into the project: select it, make sure it's the solid, click on this part, and then create a new parameter. Let's call it profile, and okay. Now we can load it into the project. Perfect. If you look at it, this is our tile trim. If you go to 3D view, you can see that it is not working outside the floor because it was a floor based generic model. So it is not going to work on the walls, the ceiling, or any other place. It will only work on the floors. I'm going to simply put it in this part, and as you can see, it is exactly inside the floor. Now I'm going to select it and change the length to, let's measure this part first. I'm going to create a detail line exactly from this part to here. It is 8.4, so I'm going to change the size of this length to 8.4, and then I will move it down to here. And now I'm going to go to its edit type and then change the depth to exactly 3 cm because the architecture floor, this wooden floor, was in 3 cm. We don't want it to go beyond this size into the structural floor, so I'm going to set it on 3 cm, and for its width I want it to be exactly on 1 to 2 cm. Let's just go with 1 cm, and then just apply. It's a little thin, so let's make it a little bit bigger. And now if I create a section for here, you can see all the details like this. This was the structural floor, And this was the architectural wood floor that we created, and this one is the tile trim. I'm going to create and add another one for the other side, exactly from the center. So we're going to use mirror, and then I'm going to rotate it from the center 90 degree like this. The next floor is going to be a marble floor. So let's go to the floor plan, and in here we need to create another type, another floor type. Let's just duplicate this one and call it marble. You can use any other type of stone that you want for this. So in here, the layers under this part might be different, might have different thickness for these parts, but I'm going to just simply change this cement to 2 centimeter. And for this part, I'm going to select this marble material. It's something like this. I have changed the scale, and that's all. Now I'm going to hit OK, and then I will create it exactly on top of this floor. And OK. Again, we need to move it up so we don't have any overlaps for this part. And now we can see it perfectly like this. For this part, I will show you a different way of using these floor tiles. So I'm going to create a similar, and then I will add it to this part. Now let's go to edit type and change the depth to 4 centimeter. And also I want to change the width to, again, 4 centimeter for this part. Let's keep the material exactly like before. And now one thing that we can do in here is to rotate it and not use it in exactly direct shapes. So I'm going to add it to this part. We can create a lot of different shapes with this method. So I'm going to create something like this first, and then I'm going to copy it for this part and then rotate it again a little bit more, and then I will move it up to here. Make sure it is inside the floor. With this, you can create and add any type of trim tile that you want all over your floor and create beautiful shapes like this. With this texture, you might not be able to see the form of these tiles, so I'm going to change it to shaded, and this is what we have. Again, you can join these parts to have a perfect tiles, and also if you want, you can add dimension for all of these parts to have exactly this design, this form on your floors. Another creative way that you can use these tile frames is to, let's just copy one of them to here and then duplicate it simply like this. And in here we're going to change the width to, let's go with 20 centimeter, and also we will change the length to, again, 20 centimeters. So we have a square like this, and now we can use it as beautiful tile, separate tiles on our floor. So one way is to just use array and copy them next to each other like this. Let's add 10 simply like this. This is a way that you can, for example, add to this part. You can add as much as you want. You can change the size and number of them, or you can just use them separately like this. You can add them to wherever you want. Maybe not all of them together like this, but you can use this for any type of floor that you have. This would look very cool on a cement floor as well. Again, do not use all of these different shapes together. Take your time, be creative, and design a unique floor, and then add these different parts to the floor. Now, before we continue with the next part, if this was helpful for you until now, please make sure to like and subscribe. Also, there's a link in description of this video and also in description of the channel where you can download more than 20 high quality and parametric families that I have created on this channel. So if you like it, make sure to check these links. The next floor will be a concrete floor, concrete tile floor. We can use any different type of tiles for this way too. So I have created the material before. Let's go to material section, And in here, it's this concrete floor with this texture. You can see it in here. Again, I have just changed the scale like this. And now I'm going to create another floor. Let's again duplicate this one and call it concrete. Now I just need to do it exactly on top of this floor, like this. And okay, again, we need to move it up 4 centimeters, and we have a floor like this. Now for this part, I'm going to again use one of these tiles. I'm going to just simply create a similar on this part, and then if we go to here, let's put it on realistic so we can see all the tiles. Now before changing anything, I'm going to measure this part, these tiles. It's 2.5, 1.2. So I'm going to change this length to 60 centimeter, something like this. And then I'm going to create another one, maybe copy it to here, and then let's rotate them with copy checked from the center 90 degree like this. Now I'm going to move these closer, and now we have a frame like this. We can use this anywhere on these tiles. So one of them is to just simply locate them between these tiles here maybe, and you can just repeat it like this for all of these parts. Another way is to rotate them from the center 45 degree and use them like this between each tile like this, or you can add it in the center of each tile, maybe something like this, or you can combine them together and create something creative like this. This is not looking good, but you know what I'm trying to say here. So this is another way that we can use this. You can also create some rectangles and use them exactly between each tile, maybe for all of the tiles, or maybe for one tile in here, another one in this part. Now if you want to create more unique form with better shapes, not these simple shape, you can go to file and create another family on generic model floor based. In here you can create any shape that you want. Let's just use extrusion and create something very simple, like maybe something like this. Now you can either use it like this will be a solid form between the tiles or wherever you want to use it, or you can add offset lines for this and use it another way on your floors. So I'm going to go with the second way, use pick line and add like 3 centimeter offset in all of these insider parts. Again, we need to trim all of these parts together, and now you can hit finish. Let's go to front view, and in here we can move it inside the floor. We need to create a reference plane in here. Again, create a parameter for it. Let's call it simply depth, and then align these parts together. Now if you go to 3D view, you will have a shape like this. Let's assign a parameter for its material, create a new one, and just simply call it profile. And also don't forget to create a void for it. Now you can load it into the project simply like this, and you can place it wherever you want. You can place it between each tile, or you can place it inside the tiles like this. If you have a unique form for your tile, this would look much better. So the last floor, this one, for this I'm going to go to the floor plan in here, and first I'm going to create a border around it. Now for this I'm going to go to the floor section and create another type of floor. Let's go with just simply border tile, go to edit type, and then for its material let's go with this one. The texture is something like this. You need to use a texture that is a square like this, and you can use it for all of the corner of the border. or you can use different parts, different floors for the corners. So I just changed the scale, as you can see, and that's it. Now I'm going to just create a rectangle in here and then hit finish. Let's move it up 3 centimeter like this, and let me put it on realistic so we see the tiles. As you can see in here, we need to cut some parts. So I'm going to go to annotate and use this detail line exactly from this part to here and to this part here, and then close it. Now another one exactly from this part, I'm using a rectangle this time to here. Perfect. Now you can go to edit sketch, edit boundary, and then just align these lines with these parts. I'm going to just simply delete this line and create another rectangle exactly on top of these detail lines, and another one for this part, so we have exact border. And now we can add the rest of parts. We have something like this in here. So again, I'm going to go to the floor section and create another type of floor. This time let's go with the tile maybe. And for the material, I'm going to go with, yes, it's this one. It is this simple circle tiles. I think the thickness of this layer and also the layer of the cement is good, but if you need to add some more cement for different part, maybe you might need to add different layers. As I told you before, you can add them to this part and then fill the other layers with some sand or any other filling material that you need. So we need all of them to be in the same level to have a seamless floor. Keep this in mind. You can add layers as much as you want for these parts. Okay, I'm now creating another rectangle for this part and another one for here because I want it to be on the outer part of this floor. And okay, again, I'm going to add offset of 3 centimeter, and now we can look at it in 3D view. It looks like this. I think it's good enough for this type of floors. And then for the next layer inside this, you can either add another layer of this part. I actually want to add some other part for this part too, 60 centimeter to this part, just to have a black border around this part too. Let me create a rectangle in here too. And now you can hit finish and have this type of floor. For the insider part, I'm going to use marble. So I'm going to create another type of floor, duplicate it, let's call it marble. Let's change the material. As I said, I have created these before. This is the texture, and then we don't need to change this part too. And okay, now I just need to create a rectangle on this part, simply like this. It looks so luxurious and perfect. I'm sure you have seen these type of floors on corridors, on lobbies, and maybe some unique spots. And now you can just simply create them yourself with the materials that you want. To finish this, we can add some tile trims around the borders, maybe inside the floor, inside each material, and the stone, the tiles. I have exaggerated a lot on the size of these floors, the thickness and the dimension, lengths and widths, so we can model it better. Of course, if we are using these techniques on a floor for a room, for actually designing some place, with all of these parameters and options, we should be able to use right sizes and dimensions. Also, you can add these tile trims inside the marble, as you can see in here. At the end, you can use dimension for all of these parts. As you saw, the size of each part is obvious, and you can export them. You can export the 2D document, you can export the plan, you can export the schedules if you want. You can have the exact accurate size of each part, and you can use them for actually building these type of floors. So that's it. I really hope that this was helpful for you and you enjoyed watching this tutorial. See you soon.